Alright, let's see. Did that work? Can you see and hear me right now, chats? Well. Excellent. Welcome everybody back to Paleontologizing. It is lovely to see you here. Thanks for joining me. Today should probably be kind of a shorter stream. I haven't been getting a whole lot of sunlight, and so the solar battery is undercharged right now. And so if the stream cuts out maybe an hour or two in, don't be surprised. That's probably what's going to happen. So mods, Claire, if you're there, if we could find somebody to raid into when the screen goes black, I'll let you know in the chat what's happened. And anyway, yeah. But welcome everybody to Paleontologizing. If it's your very first time here, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm out here in northern Montana, kind of near the town of Havre, just a few miles south of the Canadian border. And we're digging up dinosaur eggs, dinosaur bones, and the fossils of other critters here at the egg site today with the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Really cool little museum that's really on the rise from Dickinson, North Dakota. Small museum, but they punch well above their weight, and I've been working with some of these folks since 2011. So, yeah, not folks at this crew, but at the other one. Anyway, it's good to have you here, and let me know if you've got any questions. This is my means of doing science outreach, trying to show you what fossil science is all about, rather than just tell you. You know, I'd like to be able to take you out into the field whenever I can, because during the summers I do field work. Like I said, I've been excavating dinosaurs in the field since 2011, nearly every summer, and this is what I love doing, so I'm excited to share it with you. Did we get a raid from Mary's Milk Monsters? Can we get a shout out real quick for Mary? Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it, and sorry you raided in just as we were getting started, but we're here now, and I'll go walk you through the site real quick. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Mary, and her raiders. Welcome to Paleontologizing, and let me know if we've got any questions. Yeah. And California Burbs is here too? Excellent. I was just finishing up soap making. Oh, very cool, man. Excellent. Some goat milk-based soap. That's got to be like a prized commodity. That's really special. Doing well, Mary. Thank you again for the raid. This is my second to last day in Montana this year. We'll be doing another full-length stream tomorrow. I'll make sure that the battery's fully charged. And then it's back home to California for a while, then going to Michigan, and then I'll be back out in the field in Utah starting in mid-July. Be spending 3 weeks out there working with the Utah Geological Survey, part of the state government of Utah, believe it or not. It's gonna be really nice. I really enjoyed doing field work there too, but right now we're in Montana working with the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. This is the egg site. There were how many eggs yesterday? 7 that came out of the quarry?
7 more or less complete eggs.
Holy cow.
And a lot of today is what I call eggage. It's like,
yeah.
There's clearly shell. It's just going in all. I have a baguette-shaped field jacket here because line of eggage. It could be a crushed egg that just got all looped up on itself.
Yeah.
But it ends in something. If it's something more substantial, it could be a complete egg there. And then Diana has 2 complete eggs under this jacket.
Very nice.
Which means it needs to be trenched a little deeper. Then we're going to push into the hill, see if the eggs continue. But she took a piece off of there the other day. It was shaped like it's like a third of a pie. You know, and you see the margin, and you're like, all right, that's going to be a whole egg. And that's when we don't explore, we don't touch it. That's as important. When you're in the field, you don't want to brush off everything that's there.
It can be super tempting to field grab it and be able to look at its full extent.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Very tempting.
Oftentimes the rock just cleaves and you have the whole bone exposed, and that's that. But with stuff like these eggs, we don't want to touch them more than we need to out here. Yeah.
So speaking right now is Steve Clausen at FossilPreparator here on Twitch. He's going to start streaming again, hopefully in September. But he's got a really cool channel.
Sunscreen. No sunscreen.
I always forget your title. Is it?
So I'm the laboratory manager at Dickinson Museum Center and field crew chief.
Nice.
and I'm
I always
crew
want to say
chiefing
like
at the moment.
lab head or something like that, or chief preparator, but you're a lab manager.
If somebody calls me chief preparator, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I manage the lab, and then I take care of some of our sites out here in Montana.
Awesome. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how many days it is that I've been streaming from this site on and off, switching between this and the Bone Bed site, but I came back yesterday from the Bone Bed where we had an excellent stream. That was super cool. And these guys were just ecstatic. Like 7 eggs just yesterday. Nuts. Deanna, what is it that you were saying earlier about maybe a DJ Khaled reference?
DJ Khaled suffering from success.
Oh, I thought you meant another one.
Another one. Is that also him?
That's all I know from DJ Khaled, yeah.
Another
Yeah.
That's how
Life
this
is
farm
Roblox. I know that one.
one. Roblox.
Yeah.
I want to point out all the eggage here.
Claire versus head lab lubber? No, so Steve here is both a lab rat and a field mouse. So,
I like that actually.
I've got a couple trades.
yep.
We can show off some eggage.
Yep. Okay, so
This is in the trench all the way down
there's
here.
some eggage over here.
Uh-huh.
See the pink stuff right there.
Right, yeah, okay.
That I expect is the top shell.
There's more
To
here.
the bottom shell here. So we have a top shell of an egg that's offset from
Right,
the bottom
okay.
shell. Then you move along. This is more eggshell here.
Uh-huh. It's kind of hard to see, chat, but
Yeah.
it has a distinctive texture, and I don't know, you just kind of know by looking at it.
More eggage there.
Sure.
This is pretty substantial. A piece of eggshell that could be a whole egg.
Uh-huh.
Could round out there.
Holy cow. And so how big are the eggs here, Steve, for the folks at home?
When you got a complete egg that's
Yeah.
lambeosaurine,
Uh-huh.
it's like basketball in diameter to volleyball, and we have some that are a little smaller than that. They
Yeah,
vary
yeah.
a bit, but WAG has 2 over there that are just going to be tremendous.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Again, we were hoping that this site would kind of start to peter out a little bit and
Not anytime
be able to move to
soon.
a different site, but no, it's going to be years we're going to be working this site, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
Honestly, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
to get through this wall here that we have right now and everything, it'll take at least a few weeks to recover what's going on here.
And then, yeah, move on to the Notosaur site, but
Yeah,
almost certainly are going to come back next year, right? Keep digging here.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have a lot to process.
Mhm.
We won't have as much lab time because we're going through an expansion. So
Right, which is super exciting. Holy cow. How much percentage-wise are you expanding the lab?
the lab is more than quadrupling in size. Yeah.
Holy
We'll
cow.
be the biggest fossil preparation lab, probably west of the Mississippi.
Holy
Yeah.
moly.
Yeah.
Wow. Bigger than the Burke Museum?
Yeah.
Bigger than LACM? They've got a pretty
Ye-
big one.
I believe so. I'm
Holy
gonna have
cow.
to look at my references, but
Yeah.
certainly in our region,
Yeah.
biggest and safest, fully
Nice.
dust evacuated
Yeah.
and everything.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
But like I always say, the Badlands Dinosaur Museum might be a small institution, and Dickinson, North Dakota might be a small town, but you guys punch well above your weight. It's pretty impressive.
Well,
Yeah.
our facility is growing
Yeah.
to show that.
Uh-huh.
You know, and our collections will be huge as well. They're receiving expansion. That'll be, I think, it's supposed to be twice the capacity of Museum of the Rockies.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
Seriously?
Something like that. We already
Oh,
have
man.
400 cabinets lined up, ready to throw in there.
Yeah. That is phenomenal. Holy cow. I remember when Denver was applying to that job, I drove him out from Bozeman to Dickinson both times
Oh,
for
yeah.
both of his interviews, and he was pretty nervous. And I kept telling him, like, Denver, either you're going to get the job and it's going to be phenomenal, and you can build this museum up from the ground, or they don't know what they're doing. They don't hire you, and you don't want to work for them anyway. So I'm really glad it was the former. And yeah. And Steve, how long have you been working with the lab?
So I've been managing the lab. It's going to be about 5 years now.
Nice.
I have been doing field work with Denver since 2012, on and off. But I got on his field crew permanently starting in 2018.
Nice,
I believe.
okay.
So
That was the year after my last year with Denver and Liz was 2017 in the field. So yeah, we just barely didn't overlap there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But awesome. And this is, I mean, in other places in the world, this would be like, I don't know, people would be incredibly excited about this site. People would be tempted to like build a museum just on the hill there. Like,
I am incredibly excited. You should have seen me yesterday
Yeah.
with what he was finding.
Yep.
My field book is just an insane, like, it's like doctor's handwriting, really. Like I'm like scribing all over the place in hieroglyphs, like what could be going on here. I'm trying to get as much data as I can while we're here, because this sediment could be really useful for things as well. We have different horizons here. Definitely site fidelity.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me eggs that are almost 2 meters below.
Right.
You know, the highest eggshell we've seen are from the same nest. So we're seeing different nests in different places and different times, but going to the same location. That's site fidelity.
Yeah. Year after year to the same spot to lay their eggs, kind of like a lot of colonial nesting birds do today. Penguins do that, crosses do that, pelicans famously do that.
Something that I haven't seen reported here, I mean anywhere that we have here, is a yearling duckbill.
Right.
So I think we've collected about a dozen bones, all post-crania from this individual. Had a tibia, I think you got it on stream, about this wide. That's in the jacket there right now. We don't have anything exposed at the moment, but as we go in, we're finding more of this yearling. So it was it had a little bit of time to grow, and it's hanging out at the nesting site. So
which is really interesting.
Was it born here? Then they migrated, and parents came back, and it came back with the parents. Who knows? Yeah. No, that's got interesting paleobiological implications. Like, if these animals, maybe they're not migrating in and out of the area. Maybe they're kind of in this region year-round. Unlike what we think for maybe Maiasaura. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's something that is testable. Like, you need tooth enamel, selenium. Yeah. Look at those stable isotopes. Yep. And we have all different sizes of teeth. From both theropods and ornithischians. We even have baby ceratopsian teeth. And this is not a ceratopsian nesting ground. So what's going on there? Why the teeth of a horned dinosaur at this site? There's just, I don't know, the more you find, the more questions we have. And we found an epiparietal the other day, so one of the spikes.
Oh, are we sure it's an epi now?
I'm pretty sure.
Nice,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It looks Centrosaurus. Epiparietal.
Very cool, yeah. Awesome. Well, shoot, let me go over there and give chat a chance to ask me some questions and everything, and then show them the t-shirt with the Lambeosaurus skeletal on it, just for reference. For sure. But, yeah, thanks, Steve. Yep. Awesome. So if anybody's got any questions, now is the time to ask, and I'll get out of the firing line of all the sediment, too. You can throw it in my direction. But, yeah. I'm almost trying to speed run today's stream because, again, I don't know how long our solar battery is going to last. It was kind of cloudy earlier, and I was starting off with only 10% battery at the beginning of the day. And we're using it up faster than we're soaking it up. Let's see, 20 watts out, 16 watts in. That's pretty okay, actually. We're at 25%. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. Let's see if I can kind of set this against my tool bag. I directly pick up those solar rays. Prop it up just a little bit here. Slightly better angle. Let's see if that helps at all. Yeah. Anyhow. 11 watts, 13, 14, 15, 16. We're getting these clouds drifting in and out, and they're periodically blotting out the sun so that our not getting as much solar power as I would like, but it's also nice to get some shade just so it doesn't get hot. So I don't know. If it's not one thing, it's another. Everything's pluses and minuses. But anywho, Pate B says, is it a total pain to travel back and forth between these sites? It's really not. So we have the egg site here, and then we have several miles away the bone bed site, where I was yesterday. And camp is at a third location. And so at the end of the day, we pack up and we go back to camp, and then and we do that by driving. So luckily, we have motorized vehicles out here. There are some roads nearby so that we can, I don't know, we don't have to walk the whole way. It's miles and miles and miles. But yeah, so we just get back in the vehicles and drive back to camp, and then I'll hop to one site or the other, depending on which day it is and which one I've streamed at last and all of that. So yeah. So really, it's not a pain at all. And it's nice for me to get a change of scenery. Most of our crew members will stay at one site or the other for their entire time out here. Yeah, but I've been able to see both and show all of you both sites, and it's been a privilege. And hey, Digital Deck, welcome. Good to have everybody here. Dr. Irrefutable, thank you for the 38 months at Tier 2, no less. Really appreciate that. So there's a little light digging at camp. No digging at camp. Camp is just it's just where our tents and our trailers and vehicles are. There's no fossils near there. We got to go out further afield to actually go to the sites and find these fossils and everything. So, yeah. And thank you, Zyra Fire. I appreciate you saying that. Welcome, and let me know if you've got any questions. I was going to show you the Lambeosaurus skeletal. So the eggs that we're finding at this site are the eggs of a duck-billed dinosaur. What we think is a Lambeosaur in particular. So Lambeosaurus is kind of well, it's one of the better-known Lambeosaurs. They're the big crested duck-billed dinosaurs. And I was talking about merch here. If you would like to support this museum, the Badlands Dinosaur Museum, then I'd encourage you to check out their merch shop where you can get yourself one of these. This was brought back by Liz, who just arrived in camp the other day after taking care of some stuff back in North Dakota. But check out this design. So this is Lambeosaurus lambii, I think, named after Lawrence Lamb, who is a well-known fossil collector. And I'm trying to show this to you. Really blowing it around too much. There we go. So the specimen I showed tarp at the other site, that is the postcrania of this animal. Skull is already back in the museum. Design. So you can get yourself one of these if you'd like to, and the proceeds from that support the that we're collecting for, the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson, North Dakota. So hopefully we've got a link there in the chat. But it's a beautiful shirt. I really like the color too. It's just kind of like dark heather green. And canvas is a decent quality blank shirt. I also print t-shirts. I used to make my living that way. So I know a thing or two about screen printing and about museum merchandise, and this has got my seal of approval for sure. So really happy that Liz was able to bring one of these for me. Well worth my money, and I suspect it's probably worth yours too if you want to get one. You can click that link from the BDM merch command. Thank you, Claire, for posting that. Yeah. shop.dickinsonmuseumcenter.com. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Oh, and thank you, Claire. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I didn't actually look to see if you'd responded earlier, Claire and other mods, but we very well might be having a short stream today because I suspect we'll probably run out of juice for our solar panel. And no, I don't have a stand for this one just because it won't fit into my cases. All of my streaming gear has to fit into this and that. And so normally I just try to come up with a clever way to prop up the solar panel, but yeah. We were starting off with a deficit today, or nearly so, only 10%. I got it up to about almost 30 before starting the stream, but the thing is this satellite dish will drain that battery faster than the solar panel can recharge it. Even though I have two of these, you can only plug in one at once. That's just how this thing is designed, so sometimes you just have hardware limitations and you have to accept it. So this is one of those days. But tomorrow I'll make sure that the thing is fully charged so we can have a full-length stream. And that'll be my last stream from Montana this year, it looks like. Thursday morning, I'm getting back in the vehicle and driving back toward California. It's going to be a multi-day journey, but yeah, I'll take a little bit of a break from streaming for a little while, and then it'll be back out to Utah later in the summer from mid-July to early August. And then hopefully I'll have some leatherback turtle fieldwork to do down in Monterey, California in early September. And then maybe back out into the field in Utah in later September. We shall see. Anyway, it's going to be an exciting summer, and we're only about, less than halfway through our fieldwork streams for the year. It's been nearly a month that I've been in the field now. Down in Wyoming for 2 weeks, and now up here for almost 2 weeks. Doesn't quite feel like a month yet. I guess when you break it up like that, it seems to go more quickly. But yeah, anyhow. Oh, and Monterey Bay Aquarium is incredible, Becca Paintmore. That's one of my favorite places in the world. Sicarato says, how long is the drive? I think it's about a 23-hour drive from where I am now back home to the Bay Area in California. So I'm breaking that up over 3 days. And that makes it a lot more manageable. And I'm really excited to just finally take a shower after 2 weeks. Not that I'm super filthy or anything. I've got lots of wet wipes in the tent, and I make sure to, clean off, groom myself, that kind of thing. I'm not filthy. I'm not disgusting. I don't smell bad. But I do miss taking a hot shower. And that's going to be really nice in the motel on the way home. Yeah, and thank you, Claire. I appreciate that. Yes, because I very well might disappear suddenly here if the solar battery runs out. Charlie's Dragon had a question. How similar or different are dinosaur nests to typical bird nests made of sticks and plant material? And is there any plant material in dinosaur nests? Those are excellent questions, Charlie's Dragon. And the answer is, it depends. Birds, of course, are living dinosaurs. And different kinds of birds will produce different kinds of nests. So some birds will actually dig a little burrow into a hillside and they'll lay their eggs in there. Some birds will make very elaborate nests that they weave out of reeds and plant fibers and blades of grass. So weaver birds are famous for doing that. They build these beautiful basket-like structures that literally hang down from tree branches. There are birds like swallows, like the cliff swallows that I was photographing the other day. They will build nests out of mud and saliva. So they'll go and find some mud, usually on a river or lake bank. And they'll scoop it up in their beak and they'll fly it back, and they build these really kind of pretty, in a weird way, cavity nests, where it looks like a big, I'm not describing it in a pretty way, but it looks like a big tumor growing out of the side of a building or a cliffside or something. You probably can't see it, but there's some of those down there, cliff swallow nests, on the underside of that little escarpment there on the rock where I'm pointing. Yeah, it's almost like these little bulbs hanging down. And then there are some birds like pigeons where, their nest might be like a single stick and then a plastic bendy straw, crossed over each other, and then they lay an egg next to it, and that's their whole nest. So bird nests today kind of run the gamut. Some are very elaborate, some are very modest, some are very simple. Dinosaurs seem to have been the same way, where some dinosaurs probably gathered nesting material in order to cover their eggs and, build a whole structure there. Some of them seem to have constructed earthen mounds. So they would basically they'd find a spot and then dig out the center of it and build up the sides so it looks like a little crater, and they would lay their eggs in that. And some dinosaurs, we have no idea what kind of nests they made. Really, it's most dinosaurs. We don't really have a strong sense for how they built their nests, how elaborate they might have been. As far as we know, all different dinosaur species that have ever lived laid eggs, including all birds today. But whether or not they put vegetation over their eggs, like some birds do, or like many crocodilians do today, it's hard to say. This is the sort of thing that is a subject of ongoing work, and we're actually carrying out some of that work here at this site. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Maybe we'll go ask Steve about that. Like, what is the sort of work that he's going to be doing in the lab in order to figure out what's going on nest-wise with these? The eggs themselves pretty much seem to be crushed for the most part. So it's not like we've got beautiful spherical eggs or anything. Even though these eggs would have been pretty much spherical in life, they've been smushed for the most part. But what's going on with the nests here? We'll ask Steve about that real quick. Yeah. Steve, we had a question about the structure of dinosaur nests. So I've been talking about how we don't know much about that, whether they use vegetation and that kind of thing.
Right.
What sort of stuff are you going to be doing in the lab to try and garner as much information as you can from what we're getting here at this site?
Well, so it starts by doing a couple weird things. So traditionally, field jackets, dinosaur bones, you turn them upside down and you work on the bottom side.
So like we've got a jacket right here that's probably turned over, right?
This one is actually turned over to the right side.
Oh, nice. Okay, I see the arrows going up, yeah.
Because that's an egg jacket. So what I'm doing is I'm designing these jackets so we can open them up in the orientation that we found them here in the quarry. So they'll be researched, imaged, and displayed in the gallery in this position. So you see that the big pillar, that is a pillar of eggs. There are 3 at the top, and they kind of spiral down. There are a couple more. We learned underneath the base of that pillar there is another gathering of eggs.
Oh shoot!
So I've been able to take a couple out. It's all about preserving that orientation, also documenting it here. It's hard to find a pattern so far. I mean, there are some emerging on the other side. You can almost see like a parabola and spacing about 10 centimeters on average, with some a little closer. So it's this very bottom layer that seems to be producing eggs that are well spaced. In these upper layers, you never know. Wag over there, he has 2 big basketball diameter eggs that are, of course you can't see them at the moment, he's protecting them. They're on top of each other. They're crossing maybe 30 or 40%. Are there going to be more doing that? Is it just going to be kind of a lump of eggs? I don't know. I think their habits might have differed by the individual. Certainly to some degree.
How these individual dinosaurs were constructing their nests and that kind of thing?
Yeah, but then there's the taphonomic aspect. It's what happened after they left. So we have unhatched eggs, we have hatched eggs. Is most of this, let's say, lack of symmetry due to that? They just push them around and they bury them and they're done. I wonder if that's a burial mound right there.
Interesting. That would be really cool.
You know, they just kind of kicked them into the sediment and walked away.
Sort of like sea turtles do in a way.
The only reason I might have to doubt that is most of them are just parallel and flat in orientation. You have one that's doing a bit of a dip, but they're not all over the place. You know? And I really don't have a good idea of what those eggs look like. They're mostly covered in sediment, so it's not until that they're, you know, out of the lab that I'll be able to think about it more. What's that?
Uh-oh. Do we have another one?
You didn't. Let me just...
On camera.
Yeah.
Right here. This one's here.
Where did you get it?
Right
Get all the
here.
way up there. Take that piece out.
And then look. Right here.
You have egg there?
There's eggshell there, and there's eggshell there.
Kind of trapped in here. Can
That's
you lift
loose.
that while I play with it?
We can do that. I don't think this is a complete egg. I think that's a fragment. What we can do is take this out.
All right.
This as a piece. I mean, it's gonna take some of this egg with it. Here. See that?
Yep.
But there's a clean break there. I'm just, because we're making a big jacket here with a couple complete eggs, I want to see what's going on. Is that egg in cross section there?
I'm not letting you get in there. Just remember that.
Like yoga. I think we're safe. like we're littered here with pieces of eggshell.
Right.
It's not just complete eggs. And then I come to ask, like, what do I map? And what don't I map?
So chat, one of the things that we're dealing with here is that there's just so many eggs that when we're trying to trench around them to be able to get some of them out, we inevitably end up running into other ones. And it's in a way a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. And that none of these are coming out cleanly. There's just their buddies who get in the way.
So sometimes you do have to make little sacrifices, split eggshell, but you don't want to split a complete egg. Not out here, at least. Let me just take a look here. I think we're in the clear. Alright, good. It was just a fragment there. Yeah, you got some organics going in, but no more eggshell.
Okay.
It's hardly a good example.
Yeah.
Specimen.
Well, I mean, maybe you could show it just to show how splodgy and subtle these things can be.
Yeah,
so we're talking about the orangey splotch there?
Right
there. Yeah, so there's some eggy bit there. Doesn't look like much, but it's an indicator that we've got egg.
Right, yeah, there's a little bit there, but I'm not worried about it. That can go.
Gotcha.
We have dozens of bags full of like eggshell pieces of egg, this and that. And if it exceeds a certain size, I will map it and include it.
Yeah.
But it'd just be impossible given everything that's happening.
We don't have a big enough crew. We don't have enough resources to get every single last little scrap. It's just not worth it. Yeah. Makes sense.
We're safe.
Awesome.
We're safe from another egg catastrophe.
When you're going to be prepping these in the lab, is there any way to tell whether or not this would have been like a nest covered with vegetation? Or is that kind of beyond our powers of analysis?
I don't know if it's beyond our powers of analysis. What I found about this site is that really doesn't favor plants. Everywhere else we get leaves, we get this and that. Occasionally here we see a trace of wood or algae, but really carbonization isn't happening.
Interesting.
So I think that speaks to some sort of unique environment in terms of pH and the taphonomic facies.
Right, okay. So even if these nests were covered with vegetation back in the Cretaceous, we might not be able to see that just because that stuff's not getting preserved.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no direct evidence here. That said, perhaps they leave some sort of signature that, XRF or some other analysis could pick up on.
X-ray fluorescence. Yeah, interesting. Cool. Thanks, Steve. I'll let you get back to it. Yeah. Let me get some water, too. And let me know if you've got any other questions, chat. I'll check on the solar battery as well, see how we're doing numbers-wise. And... From R1 Lily, have you found any evidence of dinosaurs laying eggs in a different dinosaur's nest, like a cuckoo bird does? There's an old idea that maybe, was it Troodon might have been doing that? But I think that was a result of misidentification, where it turned out that, like, oh, this wasn't a different egg laid in a different dinosaur's nest. It's like, oh no, it was actually the first dinosaur's nest. Yeah, I have vague recollection of that from like the 90s. There was an idea that maybe at Egg Mountain, Troodon she was laying her eggs in a Maya something. Don't think anything ever panned out. And this year came and dug a big hole in earnest, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So the story there is fairly typical, We discover these sites through a process we call prospecting. So once we know that we should be looking for fossils in a particular area, and once we have permission to go explore there, we have our permits in order to be able to prospect, you walk along and you look at the ground. And so I can kind of demonstrate that here. You're looking for stuff that's eroding out on the surface. Because if there's stuff on the surface eroding out, that means you can dig in and find the source. So You see all these footprints over here. This is where that's Bathroom Ridge over there. Horn Trail nowadays. But I want to say that there were some bone fragments over here. I may have passed them already. But you just look for stuff that happens to be on the surface. That's an indication that there's probably more underneath. You dig in, and hopefully you find that. More stuff. So, didn't see that here, but let's retrace our steps. Going from this way. Lighting's better from this angle anyway. And... oh, well. We've got some random bits of bone right here. Probably dinosaur bone. These are probably rib fragments or fragments of a vertebral process. Like a transverse process or maybe even a neural spine. I'd say probably transverse process though. Yeah. So this is characteristic of like, well, we're in the right spot. That means the chemistry was correct in this ancient environment to preserve bone. So you find something like this and you go, okay, this is the right kind of area. Let's look a little bit harder. And if you find a bunch of bone spilling out from a particular place, like, oh, like right here, look at that. Well, looks like more pieces of a vertebra right here. Like it could be part of a transverse process, perhaps. Maybe. Anyway, you find something like this, you trace it up, and then maybe you dig in. You see if there's any more there. That's how you discover a site like this. There's no kind of fancy technology involved. There's no magic dowsing rods or chicken entrails or anything like that. There's nothing mystical or technological about it. You just walk around and you look. After a while doing field work and learning about these animal skeletons and how they're constructed and what the different bones look like externally, you start to develop kind of a mental model for all the different kinds of things you might find in a place like this. And you're able to start identifying things based on small fragments. So, you know, if you see something that has kind of an enamel-y sheen on it, well, that very well could be a tooth. So you look for symmetry, you look for the texture. Color can sometimes be an indicator in some circumstances. Shape can often fool you, but you look at shape as well. And then using all of that information, you can start to make a loose determination of what the thing might be. Yeah. It's the name of the game when you're prospecting. And Saigama says, I would think you'd need to dig really deep to find fossils like that? Absolutely not, no. If you just dug a random hole somewhere out here, chances are you would never find anything. We let erosion do the first part of the digging for us. Let it expose certain things so we can actually find them. And again, stuff like ground-penetrating radar, even though they show that in the movies like Jurassic Park, they had that sonar imaging thing. That stuff does not work. That's science fiction fantasy. The way that we find fossils is by prospecting. Using the old Mark I human eyeball. That's how you do it. And Fake 2D says, will these random finds also make it into the collection or disregarded? For stuff like that, just little scraps on the surface, that's what we call float. That can be an indication that there's bone in this area, so it's important to just leave it there. That's not going to be scientifically important unless it turns into an associated find, you know, like an associated skeleton. When you have multiple pieces of the same critter, that's when it actually becomes scientifically important. But like a single fragment of bone on the surface isn't going to be good for anything. It won't even be good for isotope analysis or anything because it's been sitting on the surface, eroding out, chemically weathered. Yeah, it's going to be effectively useless. So we just leave it there. We don't collect anything that we don't think we have to because in a museum, space is limited. And every fragment that you collect has got to be there in the museum for all time, you know? These fossils come from public land. They belong to we the people of the United States. So they need to go to a public museum, need to be housed there for all time. And so, as a result, we only collect the things that are important, are scientifically useful. We don't want to fill up the collection space with junk, you know? Does that make sense? And hey, Science Streams Balint, I hope you're having an excellent day. It's good to see you as always. Yeah. And Claire, I already answered that question, but thank you. Yeah, talked about prospecting. Yeah. And Akira Eclipse, we do have a lot of full eggs from this site and from other places around the world, like full dinosaur eggs, even full dinosaur nests. So it'll be sometimes like a dozen or two eggs, all beautifully arranged in a circular pattern. Sometimes they even have dinosaurs lying on top of them, like with the famous Big Mama Oviraptor specimen. Yeah, that sort of thing, it happens. At this site, the eggs are not super, at least not in the field, but after Steve has been working on these in the lab and prepping them out, removing the surrounding rock, gluing them, really making them shine, getting them ready for scientific study, they should be a lot prettier. And we're expecting we'll probably have some of these on display in the new museum hall in the next couple of years. And that is exciting. So some of the eggs that we're digging up live on camera, you'll be able to come to North Dakota and see those there in the museum on display. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah. And 50 million years, Magic Mikeys. These eggs that we're digging up, basically the rocks in this area, both this site and the other site that I took you to yesterday, it's about 76 million years old. And that's pretty young for the age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs first show up on our planet. They first evolve around 235, 240 million years ago, give or take. So 76 million years is nothing, you know? That's near the end of the age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, except for birds, go extinct 66 million years ago. So 76 is only 10 million years before that. We're right near the end of the age of dinosaurs here. Yeah. But yeah. And Akira Eclipse has also wanted to say how infectious your passion is. And thank you for what you do with the dinosaur, Steve Irwin. I will take that as a compliment, Akira Eclipse. Thank you. It's been lovely having you here. I appreciate your questions and your enthusiasm. It's a pleasure to be able to share this with you. So, thank you. With that, let me remember to get some water, and then we'll check on the battery again. That's better. Yeah. And let's see. And Saigama says, how much of a skeleton do you need to determine what species it belonged to? It depends. Different parts of the skeleton are more or less important for identification. So again, let's take out our Lambeosaurus again. Here, I'll put it this way so the wind works in our favor. There we go, thinking smarter, not harder. There we go. So yeah, so this is Lambeosaurus. We suspect it's probably this dinosaur who was laying the eggs here. With your duckbill dinosaurs, if you're looking at the skeleton, say you're missing the head, well, there's so many different parts of the skeleton that show you that you've got a duckbill dinosaur. They have very distinctive hips, their vertebrae are very distinctive. Basically, you could have almost any part of this animal, except for maybe the chevrons or the ribs, and be able to tell that you've got a duckbill. But you won't know what kind of duckbill, what genus or species, pretty much unless you have the skull. So the skull is what we call the most diagnostic part. So this is the part of the animal that changes the most dramatically through evolution. This is the part of this animal that it evolves the fastest. So without the skull, it can be hard to tell what species or even genus you have. But if you have the skull, if you only have the skull, then you're sitting pretty, you know? You can look at that and go, oh, that's Lambeosaurus. But if you don't have that, it might be, oh, you know, indeterminate hadrosaur might be your ID. So, yeah. Does that make sense? Heads you win, says Andy. Yeah. And different kinds of dinosaurs will have... They will have different parts that are more or less what we call diagnostic. So, I think in this diagram, in this case I've got that diagram, with these ceratopsians, ceratopsids. Here we go. So your horned dinosaurs are called ceratopsians. The bighorn dinosaurs are called ceratopsids in particular, that family. And generally their postcrania, the bones behind the head, tend to look very similar. And they're not super well studied. The part that you need to actually identify the animal is parts of the skull, especially parts of the frill, the parietals and squamosal bones. So these are a bunch of chasmosaurine ceratopsids. There's probably about, between the centrosaurines and the chasmosaurines, there's probably at least 50 species that all lived in, nearly all of them lived in North America, with like maybe one or two exceptions, in the late Cretaceous period. So we're only talking like, what is it? Like 20, 25 million years, something like that? Let's see. Yeah, from about 80 million years ago until 60. Yeah, we're talking about like 25 million years. You've got these creatures evolving really quickly, and their postcrania don't seem to change very much. So their bodies generally look the same, but they have got all of this crazy headgear like this that varies through time. And I want to make it clear that these guys did not live at the same time. Most of these guys are parts of series where it might be one lineage evolving over time. So with Triceratops, you have Triceratops horridus, and we don't have this one named yet. It's got super long brow horns. Then Triceratops prorsus. It seems this guy evolves into him, who evolves into him. So this is a lineage over time. And where's our Torosaurus? But Torosaurus might well be part of this lineage too, depending on who you ask. Anyway, the point is, if you're going to find a ceratopsid, you want to find the skull. And there's certain bones in the skull where if you only get those bones, you can tell what species you have, or if you have a new species just based on that. Because those bones are very diagnostic. They evolve very quickly. They're kind of unique to each species, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Let's see. And Cowardly Brave says, what's the most commonly found ceratopsian? I would assume it would be Triceratops. You are correct, yeah. So Triceratops, there's probably about, I don't know, I could ask Denver, for an F500 different specimens that have been found over the years by many different museums in several different US states and even from southern Canada. Yeah, so Triceratops lived at the very end of the Cretaceous period and the Maastrichtian stage. So Triceratops, was it originally found in Montana or Colorado? I forget where the holotype is from. I want to say Montana. But we've got it here in Montana. We've got Triceratops in North and South Dakota and Wyoming and Colorado. And I would not be shocked if eventually it might also turn up in New Mexico, maybe even in Texas, maybe even in Mexico. It lived kind of all up and down North America, probably. We're still kind of figuring that out. We're trying to determine whether the rocks down south in New Mexico, Texas, and Mexico, if we actually have rocks from the very, very end of the age of dinosaurs when Triceratops lived. Because if we have those rocks and Triceratops doesn't show up in them, that means it didn't live that far south. There's some people who say that, you know, well, you don't get Triceratops down there. You only get Torosaurus. So is that a real geographic vicariance thing? Or is it stratigraphic? Do we just not have the right age rocks to find Triceratops yet? And if you find younger rocks, then you'll find Triceratops? People are of different opinions on that. Anyway, Triceratops, tons of specimens. Very iconic dinosaur. And one of the best studied dinosaurs there is, which is one of the reasons why it's one of my favorites. I've dug up a lot of Triceratops in my day, so it's got a special place in my heart. But here in these rocks, we have, if not the direct ancestor of critters like Triceratops, of Triceratops itself, then at least the direct ancestor of other ceratopsids from later in the Cretaceous. Denver really wants to find a chasmosaurine in rocks of this age because he has some predictions about what it'll look like, and that's part of science, is gathering information, running tests, and then making predictions, being like, well, if I understand this situation, then we should find this particular animal that looks like this in rocks of this age. And if you find it, then that's awesome. And if you don't, then that's also awesome because you're learning something new. And, it's hard to make predictions that turn out to be correct because we're dealing with such complex situations out here. Yeah, I can go into more detail about that later if you like. But yeah. And let's see who else we got in the chat. Any questions or anything? Fondness for Ankylosaurus. There you go, Cowardly Brave. Yeah. Ankylosaurus is far less common than Triceratops. I think what a lot of folks don't realize, too, it's something that I'm picking up from people's questions in the chat, is a lot of people confuse Ankylosaurus for Ankylosaurs, the entire group. Ankylosaurus is like the last one. It lived alongside T-Rex and Triceratops, and it was around when that asteroid hit, at the very, very end of the age of dinosaurs. But there's a whole family of armored dinosaurs, the Ankylosauridae, that goes all the way back to the late Jurassic, at least. Or at least you have Ankylosaurs, members of that larger group, Ankylosauria. Ankylosauridae might actually be a little bit later, now that I think about it. I don't know if Mimorapelta and Gargoylosaurus are members of Ankylosauridae proper, but they are ankylosaurs. Anyway, the point is there's armored dinosaurs that go way back in time, back into the Jurassic. And there's so many different species and genera. It's a pretty diverse and successful group. A Harsh 277 says, coolest channel ever? I appreciate you saying that. That's you flatter me, my goodness. Welcome to Paleontology. And North Korean government has returned. Hey, welcome, welcome. It's good to see you here. I got a question yesterday about, where are some cool places that you expect to find dinosaur fossils, but no one's really looked yet, for whatever reason. Areas that are kind of blank spots on the map. And I was asking the crew about this, and we kind of realized, oh, shoot. North Korea. They've surely got a lot of Mesozoic strata. So rocks from the age of dinosaurs. There's gonna be undiscovered dinosaur species in North Korea. So maybe you could help me out with that, North Korean government. Go do some prospecting out there. Yeah. Oh, and Xyrofire says Dilophosaurus is my soft spot. They're fascinating. They really are. I have worked with the Dilophosaurus specimen. There's one good skeleton in the whole world, and it's in Berkeley, California. It was discovered back in the 1940s in Arizona. But, it's at the University of California Museum of Paleontology in Berkeley, and I have worked with that specimen. It's the only one that has the crests, and it only has one crest, not two, but we can tell that it would have been mirrored. And that crest it makes me nervous every time I see it because it's incredibly thin, like not quite paper thin, but like potato chip thin. Or for folks from Commonwealth countries, it's like a potato crisp, just super, super thin. And there's coatings of glue on it, and the thing is translucent. That crest is incredibly thin and delicate. probably would have been covered up by keratin, would have been much more robust in life than it is today in fossil form. But yeah. Wafalthin, says HD and HP. Oh yeah. A Wafalthin mint. And Cool Island song. Oh! Hey, is that Doug? How you doing, Doug? Weather's really nice today, actually. It's in maybe the low 70s, high 60s. Got a nice breeze coming through. This is, it's lovely up here near Havre, Montana. And more humid, much more humid than it was in Wyoming, Doug. As you can see, we've got the Milk River right here. There it is there, cutting through the landscape. So while it occasionally brings us some mosquitoes, it also makes it nice and humid, like comfortably humid. It's not punishingly dry here like it is in Wyoming. But yeah. Anywho. But I hope you're doing well, Doug, you and Edie. Just listening to the stream while picking fossils, very nice. I hope you find some mammals or some other cool nonsense, Doug. Yeah, I hope you find hope you find some eutherian teeth. That'd be cool. If they're even in those strata that you're looking at. If it's late enough. And Puggo Wogo says, aren't there only 2 dinosaurs uncovered from Korea? Yeah, so South Korea has yielded a few dinosaurs, and there's more that are on the way. There are more that are in press right now, like waiting to be published. But yeah, there's some, I think, decent egg sites and track sites from South Korea. There's more on their way. There's gotta be some north of the DMZ too, you know? There have to be some good dinosaurs in North Korea. And Atomic Swede says, hello from Sweden. Hello from Montana. Great to have you here, Atomic. Welcome. Yeah. And oh, good stuff. Yeah. But yeah. Hi, Dibs and Kiffy from Connecticut. Well, welcome. Dibs and Kiffy. Great to have you here. Let me know if you've got any questions. Let's go back to the site and see if they found anything else right now. You know, I like to walk over here because it gives me a chance to pay more attention to the chat, answer questions. I'm not in everybody's way, but at the same time, we came here to stream from the site. So let's go see what's up over there. Oh, and we'll check on our battery too. What are we at right now? How much time do we have? 19%. Oh boy. Okay. We've probably got less than an hour left on the clock before the satellite internet dies. Because we got no juice, but we'll see. Especially if these clouds keep drifting over. See what Deanna's doing over here. That air scribe. So this is not a technique that you see very often in the field. But Steve and Deanna sometimes have to use air scribes in this area because we get these massive mudstone blocks. And they just want to break where they want to break, and they want to break the eggs with them. So with this, you can actually force a break through the middle of these mudstone blocks and be able to get the eggs out safely. So again, this might look like an unconventional method, but they know what they're doing. There's a good reason that they're doing this. And Lord Nubalot says, have there been any experiments to recreate fossilization? There have been a few, and I'm not really well versed in that aspect of taphonomy. There are people who actively work on that kind of thing, and I just don't know a lot about it, to be honest. Be a good question if we see Michael Chiappone maybe in September. We can ask him about that. But yeah, and I've never Australia Greenheart, not yet. And Kiffy Thimble says, what's your favorite thing you've discovered in a dig? I get this question a lot too. My proudest find was in 2012 I discovered a new species of horned dinosaur that is still awaiting publication. But I was talking with Denver about that the other day, and it's on his list. That's his project because he was leading that field work and in charge of the excavation. I'm just the guy who found it. But he says he's going to get that done hopefully in the next couple years. Get that published. Brand new dinosaur that I found back in 2012. Yeah. Anywho. And thanks, Kiffy. I appreciate that. And Flugfisk says, fly fishing? People come from all over the world to go fly fishing in Montana. Actually, where I used to live, in the Gallatin Valley, where Bozeman, Montana is, Montana State University, and Museum of the Rockies, that's all in Gallatin Valley. Up near Three Forks there, it's a famous area for fly fishing, and there's some, like, people where they do that year-round. So during the summers, they'll go fly fishing in Montana, and then during the winter, they fly south to Argentina, where they have fly fishing there. So Argentine summer is the same time as our winter, so they just go back and forth. It's something. I know people who also do that for fossils. They do field work during the summers up here in the northern hemisphere, and then they go south to Argentina or to Australia or even Antarctica, and dig fossils there when it's winter up here. So, yeah. And how long does it typically take for a discovery to publish? It can take a long time. Yeah. It can take decades or more. So it goes sometimes. It's a lot of work to excavate these things. I mean, some of you remember my first day streaming from here last week. We had this big egg jacket right there, and that's still the same one. You know, it can take weeks to excavate something like this, and then it has to get back to the laboratory. It might sit in storage for years. It might take months or even years to prep out a particularly big fossil. Like, Steve, how long has it taken to prep the big Tyrannosaur jacket that's there in the middle of the lab?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Because not all of my time can be spent on it.
Right,
and,
yeah.
The only two, professional preparators in the lab, me and Diana, so we'll share time on it.
Right.
But we have so many other cool things to work on.
Right.
And it's really tough on the hands. It's harder than concrete. We tested it with the air scribe. It's harder than concrete.
So like super concreted sandstone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's abrasive. It also works the wrists, so it's like sort of thing you do every other day.
Right.
So that's it. We brought it into the lab in October 2021. And then I prepared a tail block that was attached to it, so we were able to remove the base of the tail, which helped get weight off of it for the helicopter lift, and also made it slimmer so we could fit through the door. Yeah. Which is all fine, and that took me, I don't know, a couple months. It wasn't until September of 2022 that I started on the main block. Right. And I'd call the prep 35-40% finished.
Okay,
something in that ballpark.
So this is something that's it's already taken years and will take years more. And that's just how it goes sometimes. Like, this is not, instant gratification kind of science. This stuff takes a long time, but it's worth it. That's why we do it. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We sneak back here and try not to get hit in the face with some rocks. Yeah, if you're just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to northern Montana. Welcome to a dinosaur egg site that we're excavating with the Badlands Dinosaur Museum from Dickinson, North Dakota. Underneath these protective white plaster and burlap jackets, we've got multiple big eggs from a duck-billed dinosaur. That's got some eggs and some bones in it too. Diana is working around an egg right now with the air scribe. And there, Charlie and Wag are also looking for more eggs in that direction. We've got eggs coming out all over the place. 7 new eggs just yesterday. So this site is prolific. Really impressive. So yeah. How big are the eggs? They seem about maybe volleyball sized. So they're pretty big. Like, dinosaur eggs don't really get much bigger than that. I think the biggest sauropod eggs that have ever been found are about the size of a soccer ball. Or a football, if you're from a proper country. So yeah, if you're watching the World Cup, think, well, that's about the size of the largest dinosaur egg ever discovered. And our eggs are maybe about the same size. Probably a little smaller, but it's hard to tell because they're smushed. You know, they're crushed flat. But they're big. You know, we're talking eggs that are like 28 centimeters wide when they're flattened. But how flattened are they? You know, that's some stuff we're still trying to figure out here. Yeah. And okay to play. Is there evidence that the parents would stay around the eggs? From other duck-billed dinosaurs like Maiasaura, also from here in Montana. It's actually the state fossil of Montana. Maiasaura provided some of the first evidence that dinosaurs took care of their young. So we know that the babies would stay in the nest after hatching and the parents would come and bring them food. So it's not like the parents were just abandoning the eggs. There was like intensive parental care that occurred. And we don't know whether that's the case for this duck-billed dinosaur here. It's a different species called Lambeosaurus. Or at least we think that this is a Lambeosaurus nest. We're kind of working under that hypothesis. But yeah, they may have exhibited parental care too, or maybe they didn't. We're not really sure. But part of the work that we're doing here is going to help determine that, and that's pretty exciting, you know? And Abdiel says, I'm surprised that an egg that large didn't have gas exchange problems. That, I love that you said that, because that is probably, it probably dictates the upper ceiling for how big an egg can be. So at a certain point, if you're laying a hard-shelled egg on land, it can get too big that it either collapses under its own weight, or if you thicken up the shell, then the shell would be too thick for the embryo to escape from, or you have problems with the embryo exchanging gases. So what's really cool is, with a lot of dinosaur eggs, if you look at them under the microscope, you can actually find the pore structure in them. And so you can see all the little pores where the egg would breathe. And you get different microstructure there, and that may or may not be really important for determining what kind of animal laid those eggs, what species of dinosaur. But as I understand it, the more that egg paleontologists have examined these eggs, they've realized that they're highly plastic. So even members of the same species might produce eggshell that looks different depending on different conditions. Or it might have something to do with fossilization too. But like under different conditions, the fossilization makes the pore spacing and stuff look different, or I don't know. Yeah, it might just change over time as well if we have stratigraphic variation. But yeah, anyway, eggs are living things. You know, there's an embryo growing inside, and that embryo has to be able to exchange gases with the atmosphere. It has to be able to take in oxygen and expel carbon dioxide. And so that's an important part for surviving as a little embryo in an egg. That's why you can't take eggs with live embryos and stick them underwater, because you'll drown them. Yeah. And are these eggs thicker than an ostrich egg? They would have been a lot thicker. So hadrosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs, we know laid hard-shelled eggs. So much like a bird, it's is it aragonite? Somebody, if you know, let me know. If it, no, we'll go ask him real quick. Bug him again. But, so birds seem to have inherited their eggshell architecture, like the fact that they lay hard-shelled eggs. They inherited that trait from their dinosaur ancestors, from the theropod dinosaurs. But other groups of dinosaurs, like the ceratopsians and maybe the thyreophorans, and maybe some of the basal-most sauropodomorphs, they seem to have laid leathery eggs, kind of like a crocodile or a turtle. And so that's probably the primitive condition for dinosaurs, is leathery eggshell. But certain groups have a more derived condition they actually produced hard-shelled eggs. Yeah. Hey, Steve, is it aragonite that these eggshells would be made of, or am I misremembering?
How the eggshell can be preserved or
Yeah,
fossilized. It makes up the higher in section we go, the more complete the clams and the snails are.
Right.
And then as we get into it, all of a sudden they're just in pieces, or they're really tiny. They're not really big. This is a phenomenon that's been seen in other egg sites, specifically in the Upper Old Man Formation.
So other researchers have noticed the same thing going on.
Yeah, the same phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's been posited that whatever it is that can preserve the eggs, you need a pH that can be buffered, that
Gotcha.
is more alkaline.
So not acidic, not dissolving the eggshell and the mollusks.
Yeah.
There's something to do with the soil chemistry that like preserves both the invertebrates and the eggshell.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that you'd have expected the soil, while it was dry, possibly to be relatively acidic in comparison. So what happened? What was the switch that actually preserved the eggshell? And some researchers have posited that the presence of these snails it leaches out the aragonite, and that creates your more basic environment. Now, I'm at odds with that because samples we have from our other egg site and this one of the shell doesn't show any signs of like degradation.
Sure.
Looks like they were buried pretty much intact, and even all the small pieces we get, they're not round, or they're not broken down as you'd expect. They're very angular, so I don't expect there is any dissolution going on. In terms of all the chemistry happening, I'm very, very new to the world of eggs, and all things like eggs. What I'm not really new to is how to run and document a quarry, so that we're getting all this information preserved.
So we'll hopefully be able to look at this information that we're gathering and maybe be able to tell a story about how these eggs are actually getting preserved.
Yes.
What's going on with the chemistry in this paleosol.
And what's the ecology of the site? What's going on? What are the behavioral implications? I'm not. There are certainly some. I don't know what is a stretch and what isn't. That's where, going to SVP and talking to colleagues and things really helps me find literature that isn't even on the internet. That could be very, very informative. Ooh, looks like Wag just took out a bone there.
Oh, nice.
And the foil on the pig jacket.
Oh, yeah. I'll take a look at that in a minute.
What that was.
Yeah. But I guess I had a more simple question. It was just, what is dinosaur eggshell made from? Is it aragonite? It's not hydroxyapatite.
It's not hydroxyapatite.
That's bone, so...
they're obviously preserved in a different way. And I've seen them in thin section. You use sort of the lamellae to determine which genus is what. In terms of what chemical they exist as right now, I couldn't tell you. Not being like an egg person specifically. This is my first venture with the eggs. Hold on, I'm just... Whoa. That is a piece of something.
And those look like ancient breaks.
One here, that's an ancient break. That's a little ruffled, so there's I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I almost want to make that into a ceratopsian frill.
I had some thoughts on that. I mean, the striations are pretty clear here. Often you see that on neural arches, but if this was a piece of a neural arch, it'd have to be pretty big. It seems kind of asymmetrical like
for that too, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, no, neural arch, never mind. Sorry, I was thinking neural spine.
Yeah, so you would have it, there's a break here. I assume, no, it's not a break. No. We find all sorts of stuff
Weird. Cool.
here at this site.
Nice find, Wag. That could be exciting. Oh, Xyrophire's got a great question. How much of an effect on fossils does the crystal structure of the surrounding strata have? Like aragonite being orthorhombic versus calcite being trigonal. I don't know that.
I would say the aragonite and the snails and the clams, it's nothing's coming out.
Okay.
I don't believe anything's coming out, so it's sitting there in place.
Okay.
I don't think.
But it's just kind of changing the overall pH of this soil.
That's the hypothesis. I don't really think it is.
Okay.
Because you'd have to see dissolution in the snail.
You'd expect that there'd be pieces missing. It would look degraded.
Because a lot of I can just pick up a piece.
Yeah.
These little white flecks there.
Yeah.
That's what we get in this egg layer. And we really don't get much more complete than that. These are all sharp. They were sharp when they were buried. They were crunched up. Mm-hmm. And when something starts dissolving, you lose that angularity.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to dissolve a lot of snails.
Yeah.
To swap over that pH.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not something that I'm a fan of.
Sure.
But somebody could show me. Maybe there was a swath of them that came in at some point, before this was all buried. Some kind of a magical liquid got introduced from miles away.
Oh yeah.
Like mass snail death that had a hyper basic water or something like that washed into the acidic soil. I don't know. It's a fun little hypothesis.
Let's see. And these are the things we talk about here in the quarry, because I don't know, we don't have a whole lot of information about this yet. We're still finding new things all the time, and they raise new questions. And again, this is the least amount of information we'll ever have about this site is while we're working it right now. In the future, we'll have a better handle on this kind of thing. But it's exciting, There's something really fun about that. When everything's new and fresh in the field, so many different possibilities for different answers before you start to narrow stuff down. There's kind of it's an exciting quality there. It's fun. Yeah. But anyways, Xyropfire, it's a good question. Yeah. And Smoothstone, things are going well. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Let's see how much more juice we got here on the solar battery. Hopefully we're above 20%. Let's see. 17%. Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna continue to drain here as long as we get these clouds. So I'll be keeping an eye on this so that hopefully we don't just get a sudden drop all of a sudden when the stream goes dead. Or at least we'll have some warning there, Yeah. Keela says it's so cool there. This is a really cool place. Yeah. No, it's a nice field site. We've got this nice little tongue of sedimentary rock along here, and then these valleys on either side, and this grand valley behind us with the Milk River running through it. This is one of the best regions in the world for finding dinosaur fossils. Northern Montana and eastern Montana, especially in areas where you get fluvial erosion like this. Rivers coming through and carved out these beautiful badlands where you just get this lovely exposed rock right there on the surface. This is where we find these fossils. This is kind of the calling card of good environment for finding dinosaurs in. As long as the rocks are of the right age. Yeah. And there you go, Dirterbust. Yeah. And I am having a nice time zone. Thank you, Smoothstone. Good stuff. Yeah. And holy cow, we've got 515 people watching. Ooh, I wish we could stream for longer today. I wish we didn't have that energy limitation. But yeah, this has been good. If anybody's just joining us, Welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to a live dinosaur dig with the Badlands Dinosaur Museum out of Dickinson, North Dakota. We're out here in northern Montana near the town of Havre, digging up some dinosaur eggs and bones and whatever else we can find in this important little quarry here. I say little, but it has been growing day by day. And again, they had 7 new eggs just yesterday. Big eggs, we're talking like maybe volleyball sized, from what seems to be a big duck-billed dinosaur like Lambeosaurus. So pretty cool. Yeah.
What'd you find?
And again, let me know if you've got any questions, chat. Ooh, what's here?
This mudstone does all sorts of things to us. So this, I suspect, is some kind of sedimentary structure.
Oh,
so
weird.
Not organic.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like plants.
No, and we don't get like organics here in terms of like lignite. So what could it be? It's going to be some manganese oxide staining, probably.
But that looks like a root going down there too.
Yep.
It's kind of uncommon, I guess, if we don't have that kind of lignite being preserved.
Yeah, fairly uncommon.
Yeah.
In fact, I suspect this isn't lignite.
Okay.
It behaves a little differently.
Yeah.
It feels more like clay. Like
Interesting. So is
yeah.
that just like a clay intrusion rather than a root then?
It's a root, I
It is
think,
a root,
that
okay.
could have been replaced by clay minerals.
Gotcha.
Which
Yeah.
was, so it would have dissolved and then they would have
Yeah.
come in at some point in time.
So what is, for the sake of the audience, having a
Yeah.
root there in these rocks, what does that tell you about this environment, about the depositional setting?
Well, this helps tell me that this was a soil at one point in
Yeah.
time back in the Cretaceous, so we call that a paleosol when it's, a certain million years old. So
Yeah.
this would be about 76 million years old. And we do get, it doesn't matter where in this hill I go, we
Yeah.
get these root traces.
Uh-huh.
You'll probably have seen on your Jack's Bone Bed streams
Yeah.
the logs.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Oh,
digging
that's
one up.
cool.
It almost looked like a bone for a minute. And
The crew last
nope.
year was able to fill 2 whole buckets of coal in just a few days.
Yeah.
So that's lignite, a low-grade coal. We really don't see any of that here. You look through,
Right.
the outcrop, nothing popping out. There's something about this site that didn't like plants, and I think that's the acidity of the soil.
Interesting. So yeah, and the fact that there is a root structure there tells you this is like a stable landscape. This is not
Right.
flowing water. This is not the bottom of a river or something like
Right.
that. This is like a soil surface. It was pretty still.
Of course, eventually, through some seaway transgression, this
Yeah.
was covered up. And,
Sure, eventually, yeah.
Eventually, we exposed it. We're in a coulee, so
Yeah.
this was a glacier responsible for,
Yeah.
getting all this exposed. But at one point in time, yes, it was probably a nicely developed soil. And
So at the time these dinosaurs were walking around, this is the soil, right?
yep,
Yeah.
it was nice to dig, and there would have been little plants here and there. It's not dense root coverage,
Sure.
at least in terms of what's preserved.
Yeah.
But they were here.
Uh-huh.
And you're asking a bit about, like, how can the eggshell be preserved?
Yeah.
Well, I think I wasn't quite getting the question, but so when the eggs were laid,
Uh-huh.
they would have been calcium carbonate, like 90 to 90 some
Gotcha,
percent
okay.
calcium carbonate.
Yeah.
But as to what they are now, there are a few ways to alter that.
Right.
You can silicify that.
Uh-huh.
You can have original hard parts, so you can still be calcium carbonate.
Sure.
That's why you don't want a lot of acidity, because it's just going to take that calcium carbonate right away. But they can also be mineralized as aragonite, just like the snails and the clams.
Oh, interesting. So aragonite is not necessarily the original structure of the eggshell.
No.
They're calcium. The chemistry, that's
Yeah.
how it gets preserved through diagenesis. So in the fossilization process, you have minerals that can seep in and replace some of the more temporary stuff, the stuff that might disappear over time, with stuff that stands the test of time. That's how you can get fossilization, or mineralization.
In our case, we know that the crystal structure of the egg hasn't been changed. So eggshell is kind of like a fingerprint. You have to break it open, look at the egg species, has a different pattern. I don't expect these are replaced with silica, let's say, because that could I would imagine, make the eggshell amorphous.
Right.
There might be some instances where that doesn't happen, but
So amorphous, you mean you would lose that original like detail and everything that was there?
yeah. You know, whereas we know that it's very, very prismatic, our eggs in cross section. So
Yeah.
you know, kind of like chalcedony, like asbestos minerals.
Huh.
It really looks quite a bit like that.
It's like
just
very
structure.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, you know, bring a little vial of HCl, hydrochloric
test,
acid,
yeah.
and just put a little drop on a piece of eggshell and see what
Yeah.
happens. We literally have not done that.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
we're
Okay.
so sort of early
Yeah.
into this. Yeah,
Cool.
it's eggs.
So much to learn here. Yeah. And Chad, if you're wondering what that buzzing is, it's the air scribe right there. It's not something wrong with your headphones, don't worry. Yeah. It's so cool to have air scribes at the site. This is not something I'm used to. It's pretty nifty.
We do it occasionally.
Yeah.
This mud warrants it.
Nice. And Okagar says, finding any marine fossils up there? Nope, these are terrestrial strata. So from the land, you'd have to go up into the Bear Paw Shale in order to find marine fossils, I presume. So
Yeah.
like up into the next geological formation, which
Yep.
we don't have here. Like the top of the cliff there, that's still Judith River Formation.
Yep.
So we don't have it. We'd have to go travel a few miles to actually find ocean bottom strata.
Yeah, we have to get closer to the Bear Paw Mountains.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We do have some sites in the Bear Paw. That's the Bear Paw near Glasgow.
Right,
It's you know, a similar unit. We found mosasaurs, a lot of ammonites.
Nice.
They're not really well studied in certain portions of the Bear Paw.
Huh.
It's a lot like the Pierre Shale.
Yeah.
I think we have many similar taxa, but yeah, as far as it goes here, we don't see anything marine. It's not
Right.
like a Tanis situation where you have pieces of ammonites in the
Right,
mud
yeah.
somehow. You know,
Although Clint and Co. have got a site like that in North Dakota where they're probably right up against the seaway where they've got ammonites mixed in with Edmontosaurus there.
Yeah.
And it's from just below the boundary, they think. So that's a really cool site. I got to visit a couple years ago before SVP.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's really neat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, next Steve. Yeah.
Thanks.
And Jelly Bean Skelly Bone says Tanis reference? Yeah. I won't go into detail about that now, but there's reason to be doubtful of many of their claims, I will say. I want to say this as be circumspect about this. But yeah, there's a lot of crazy claims being made about that site in North Dakota, and I don't know. You talk to other people who work in this region, and they're like, I don't know about any of this stuff. So yeah. Anywho. Ammonites are fascinating to overcook. Absolutely. Holy cow. They're one of the most successful groups of animals ever, and they were extremely diverse at the end of the Cretaceous. Go extinct at the end of the Cretaceous. There's one or two species that make it across the boundary into the beginning of the Paleocene, but I'm even a little doubtful of that, if the dates there are correct. Anyway, ammonites, really cool critters, and they're fantastic as index fossils. You know, if you find an ammonite of a particular species, like, you'll know exactly what age the rocks are because they're so well studied. Yeah. Oh, and P. Funke says, are you referring to Tanis? I am, P. Funke. Good to see you again. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, welcome to northern Montana. Yeah, I know of a couple papers in the works right now calling some of their conclusions into question, and we'll see. That's the cool thing about science, is it's a process, you know? Gathering information, learning more and more, testing ideas, and some of the ideas there are certainly worthy of some intense scrutiny. I'll say that. Yeah. Ms. Blue Sky says, do we know why ammonites went extinct so fast? Like many other groups at the end of the Cretaceous, it was an asteroid what done it, we think. You know, a huge rock from outer space slamming into the Earth, just causing worldwide devastation. You know the story. Yeah. So the ammonites either go completely extinct or very nearly completely extinct and only like kind of die with a whimper later on, at the same time as the dinosaurs, except for birds, and at the same time as the plesiosaurs and the mosasaurs and many of the marine crocs and many of the marine fishes and marine invertebrates and forams, and it's like 50% of plant species or something like that all get wiped out at the end of the Cretaceous. That was a bad day to be an Earthling 66 million years ago. Anywho. Yeah. And Stryker says, but there's always Nessie, lol. Yeah, about that. I actually did a stream not too long ago. What was it, in April? About the Loch Ness Monster phenomenon. And you can check that out on the VODs if you want to. They're up on YouTube. But that was kind of a bait and switch stream, I'll admit it. You know, talking about the Loch Ness Monster, getting people excited about that, and then using it as an excuse to talk about how do we do science? What is the standard for evidence of science? Like, how can we actually discover new creatures, and what's the process there? And then, finally, at the end, well, you know, there's a real-life, giant, incredible, monstrous aquatic reptile that is very much real. And I just saw it a few weeks ago, almost a month ago now, I guess, back in Florida. I'm, of course, referring to Dermichelys coriacea, a leatherback turtle, a real-life sea monster. A turtle be like 8 feet long, can weigh more than a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. One of the world's largest living reptiles, and certainly the world's largest living turtle. Extraordinary in so many different ways. I wish people would get as excited about leatherback turtles as they do about the Loch Ness Monster, because leatherback turtles are real, and you can go see them in real life, and they are in dire need of our help. Like, this is a creature like 95% plus just within the last few decades. They could very easily go extinct within the next few decades if we don't work hard to protect them right now. They're creatures that go back to the age of the dinosaurs. They are living, giant Mesozoic marine reptiles. And we as human beings are driving them toward extinction. So I've been obsessed with those critters for the past year, and done a bunch of live streams about them. That's why I went to Florida about a month ago, to see those critters and help spread the word about them and get people excited about leatherback. Actually help with some like on the beach conservation fieldwork. And fingers crossed, mid-September, I'll get a chance to do some leatherback. Or maybe as few as 50 leatherback turtles left off the coast of California. Their population is declining by about 6% per year. We really need to help them, you know? They are in dire need of protection. So yeah, but we can do it, beehiving, absolutely. Yeah. And visual glitching, what's going on? What? Something happening with the satellite dish? Oh goodness, let me check on this. What's going on, Starlink? Okay, it is aligned. Hang on. Our battery isn't dying, is it? It's going all green and magenta occasionally. Here, let me... Oh, that could be the cable connection. Let me... No? That's nice and secure, I think. We good? Yeah. All good? Okay. Yeah. Weird. I don't know. It might just do that sometimes. It stopped when you started coming back this way. Anyway. Yeah. While you're over there, that's weird because I walked further in that direction earlier and it didn't do that, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyhow. Let me know if you've got any other questions, chat. We'll check on our battery. Not getting a lot of sun right now. Let's see. 14%. Well, we're doing okay. I don't know. It's 4 o'clock. Shoot, we might actually make it till 5 today. Might not be a short stream. At this rate, we might have a full-length stream today. That would be lovely. Maybe I was a little pessimistic there. The battery holding out. Looks like it, Claire. Looks like it. Yeah. Lucky us. Excellent. And here, what I'll do is I'll take this case and prop the solar panel up against it because the sun should be about there now. So we'll want a little bit more of a steep angle in order to really get more views here. There we go. Let's see if that helps at all. Actually, I want it a little bit more shallow than that. And hopefully we don't get wind and it just blows the panel over. We'll see. Yeah. But welcome, Dan the BC man. Sorry you're tired, but I'm glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. Carolee Brave says, have you ever tried sitting on the eggs in a poor attempt to try hatching them? We tried, it doesn't work. No. Unfortunately, these eggs were laid about 76 million years ago. So if they didn't hatch in that time, they're not going to hatch now. Also, they've been smushed and buried under rock for 76 million years. And, well, yeah. Yeah, let me know if you got any other questions. Let's see. How are you doing, Charlie? We haven't said hello to you yet. Move to a different side.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was earlier. I did a little...
Gotcha, yeah.
The weather.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I found a second egg, and that's why Deanna's over there, because
Nice.
it was a little bit...
Yeah.
It's too... Even hand tools were too...
Yeah.
They're too
That
damaging.
mudstone's just too blocky. Like, it comes apart in chunks that are too big.
I mean, I knew there was going to be more eggs there,
Yeah.
but, like, I just... I mean, it was bittersweet to find more, like,
Yeah.
as I was digging.
Is that your second one today?
No, the second one in general.
Okay, nice.
But, like,
yeah.
yeah, that's why she's over there working.
Yeah.
So, I'm just taking this down. Hopefully I'll find bone, not egg.
Yeah.
I think we found enough egg at this point.
You're through with eggs. You want to find some bones?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
eggs are cool. Like,
Yeah. I know what you mean, though.
they're a bit-
I want to find more of that ceratopsian. Like, that
I
would
mean,
be really exciting.
We haven't found
Yeah.
any more elements of it yet. We
Yeah.
could.
Let me go over and say hi to Neo over there. Where he found the what we think is probably a ceratopsian piece, one of the epis. It's one of the little spikes from the margin of the frill.
It was right where I'm sitting right
Where
now.
you're sitting? Nice,
Yep.
yeah. Is this where I was digging the other day, like with the shovel?
No, we've extended a bit further in.
Yeah.
When we were taking out that piece that you just mentioned
Yeah.
found a foot bone, right, of what looks to be a young hadrosaur.
Nice.
I believe is what Steve said.
Is this young individual?
Young individual. And then I cleared off a little nub here.
MC Young individual here in the quarry. Yeah.
There was a little nub here I cleared off to get a good angle to start pedestaling it. And I found another piece of bone right on the same layer as that foot bone.
Nice.
So I've been working for the last day, started up here this morning, working my way down, found some teeth, a frog bone, I think.
Oh, nice,
or,
okay.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting almost to that layer. Might wait till tomorrow to actually try to pull them out. But,
Cool.
Yeah.
And you found a beautiful tyrannosaur tooth earlier,
Yeah,
too.
it had a very deep wear facet on it,
Yeah,
which I don't know if they met Taya, your viewers met Taya yesterday. She does research right on that, so hopefully she'll be excited with that finding.
The tip on this thing was so worn, like, we're going to be able to get some good information out of that. It's exciting. Yeah. Pretty cool. Thanks, Neil.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And how are you doing, Brian? I see you've moved house as well.
Yep.
Back to this area. Yeah.
So yesterday I found a chunk of eggshell about this big
Nice.
pit over there.
Right over there. Yeah.
Tried expanding. Went 50, 60 centimeters in all direction. Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Took it out. We needed a drainage channel.
Oh, you don't want the water pooling there. So this is lovely. This nice surface here. If we get torrential rains, which we're expecting, maybe not torrential rain, but rain this weekend, that'll help protect the site. So yeah.
Moving to something like this. I was working on close to a week ago.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. So yeah. You never know what you're going to find at a site like this. We come here looking for eggs because this is the egg site, but finding tyrannosaur teeth, finding just a weird possible ceratopsian, skull spike, the epis, which are these ossifications on the margin of the parietal and squamosal, the edges of the frill, potential, amphibian bone, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's all important. And Norikomi Fury says, all those loose little pieces, do we collect those to sort through? Not here, no. At some sites, we do collect the matrix and bag it up in order to sift through it in the lab, but here, the stuff is so big and blocky and there's so much of it that only if there's a hyper-productive layer do we actually collect any of that.
I've been sampling, I think I've taken maybe 10 or 11 gallons of sediment so far.
Oh, nice.
So I map the region.
Yeah.
I take notes of what's around and then get it all in a bag. And we're going to do that a couple times over.
Nice.
So maybe we'll leave with 30 or 40 gallons of sediment. This was the tooth that Neo found earlier.
Thank you, Steve.
See how it just ends in a stub?
Yeah. Really worn there on the tip. That's a tyrannosaur tooth, chat.
You can see some serrations there.
Yeah, here, let me get out the magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Give everybody a closer look. There we go. Trying to line this up properly. But yeah, look at that carina there with those serrations. Very nice. And the tip just worn off like that. It was contacting something durable with the end of its tooth. Really cool. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Good find, Neo. Yeah. Super, super cool. Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Always neat to be able to see that kind of thing. People get really excited about tyrannosaur teeth, and we showed off a bunch yesterday at the Jack's Bone Bed site. And Denver was kind of laughing about it. It's like people go nuts over tyrannosaur teeth. But they're not rare. Like, these animals are just shedding them all the time. Honestly, that claw that we found, I think, was more scientifically interesting. Or at least more rare, But, yeah. Neat stuff. And... like shark teeth, exactly, Nori, yeah. Most animals that have teeth will shed them and replace them all the time. mammals, like you and me, are a bit different. Mammals early on evolved a strategy of quality over quantity. So we typically only have 2 sets of teeth for our entire lives. But those teeth are reinforced with extra roots and reinforced enamel and stuff like that. But we do definitely have fewer of them, only 2 sets before we die. And that's why we need dentists, you know? But dinosaurs weren't like that, just constantly replacing their teeth all the time, every year. In fact, by doing tooth histology, cutting the teeth open and looking at the growth rings inside, we've determined that most dinosaurs that had teeth would have replaced all of their teeth more than yearly. So like each tooth would be less than a year old before it fell out and was replaced by one coming up from underneath out of the socket. So yeah. And there you go, Rhacodactylus. Yeah. People like what they like, but I don't know. I think that's one of the cool things about science outreach, though, is that you can kind of run counter to those currents where, like, you know, everybody loves a tyrannosaur tooth, but you can tell folks, well, you know, there are other things that are just as cool, if not cooler. Let me tell you about them. Let me show you why it's exciting, why it's more rare, why it's more scientifically informative. And, yeah. Yesterday we had that big hand claw that came out of the quarry. If you were watching yesterday, you got to see that. It was gorgeous. I'm so glad Denver called me over just as soon as he found it. So we got to watch it being unearthed. And at the time, I said, this is either an ornithomimosaur claw, which is like an ostrich dinosaur, or a tyrannosaur claw, probably one of the hand claws. And then the more Denver dug, the more he and I became convinced it was a tyrannosaur claw. And so that was kind of our tentative conclusion for yesterday afternoon. But then Denver was looking at some pictures online afterward, and I think he sent it to some other experts, and seems to be an ornithomimosaur claw. So the claw of an ostrich dinosaur. So similar to like Struthiomimus or Ornithomimus or Gallimimus, if you're a fan of Jurassic Park. So yeah. And there you go, Reiko. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And Dirter Bus's shoot I missed yesterday. Check out the VOD. It was really cool. We found all kinds of awesome stuff yesterday, and people were pretty excited about it. Yesterday was some of the more glamorous side of field paleontology. Just finding really cool stuff all the time. Teeth and bones and claws. It's a fun stream. Yeah. And Ms. Blue Skies, are the mimuses a group, or is that just a descriptive suffix? So that is the latter part of the names of many ornithomimosaurs. It's kind of a tradition to give them mimus at the end of their name. So Gallimimus means chicken mimic. Struthiomimus means ostrich mimic. Ornithomimus means bird mimic. Garudamimus means Garuda mimic. I think a Garuda is like a mythical bird from Indian culture, maybe? I think that's right. Somebody can correct me. So most, if you hear mimus, it means it's an ornithomimid. But they don't have to be called that. Trying to think of as an ornithomimid, although it was named before anybody realized it was ornithomimid. Suchomimus is not an ornithomimid. It's a spinosaur. Its name means crocodile mimic. So it's one of those ones that it bucks that trend, you know? So yeah, it's not a rule, it's just a tradition, I guess, to name them something mimus. I always thought it would be funny if we found a new ornithomimid here in Montana, or one down in Utah, name it Utah mimus, or Montana mimus. The Montana mimic. There's gotta be a name for, like, what is it, a floating signifier or something like that? When, like, originally the name has a literal meaning, but then after a while it just becomes so widespread that people forget that it literally means a thing, and so the names just kind of no longer make sense. Montana mimus would be a funny one. Like, what? It looks like Montana? What are you talking about? There is an ornithomimid from Australia called Tim mimus, and it was named after somebody's son named Tim. So, yeah. Garuda's from Hindu mythology. There you go, Puggo Wuggo. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. In his blue skies, it's a very square dinosaur. Montana's not super square. Like, one side of Montana goes along the Continental Divide, the Montana-Idaho border. It's very squiggly. But yeah, you're right. The other sides are square. Yeah. Wyoming Mimus, but does it have a very square head? That would be funny. Yeah. Yeah. And there you go, Reiko. Yeah. Yeah. Stuff. And let's see. Cirque says, how likely is it that the Boston Museum of Science where's the actual bones? Well, you don't have to speculate. You could just check. They should tell you whether or not it's an actual skeleton. And actually, if you have pictures of the Triceratops specimen, if I just open up an image. But in a museum, when you're looking at a dinosaur skeleton that's mounted, it's like standing up, you can often tell at a glance whether the fossils are real or whether they're replicas, and it's all based on how it's mounted. So if it's just like a beautiful, clean mount and you don't see any extraneous metal or anything on it, if it looks like there's maybe metal rods that are just jammed straight through the bones to hold the skeleton up, that's not going to be the real fossil. Those are replicas, because nobody cares if you jam a steel rod straight through a replica bone. Who cares? But with real fossil bone, you don't want to do that. So there might be a complex... Oh, mosquito went straight into my ear. I think I got her. Not a wise move, mosquito. If there's a complex network of metal parts that are holding the bones in place, those are most likely real fossil bones. Because you wouldn't go through the time and expense of creating a custom metal armature for a replica. You do that only for the real bones. So, yeah. Anywho. And yeah, that was very cool, wasn't it, Golganek? Yeah. Good stuff. But yeah, if anybody has a picture of that, maybe I can find it real quick. Boston Science Museum. Triceratops. Images. Cliff. So some of those are real bones. It looks like the humerus is. The skull does not look real. Looks like a replica. And that's funny because I know a lot of people who would say, that's not Triceratops, that's Torosaurus. Very different. Here, Museum of Science. They probably have a... And also, that's wrong. It's not 65 million years old. It's 66. Like, that date is wrong. The Boston Science Museum should know better. One of the most complete dinosaur fossils of its kind ever discovered. I kind of doubt that. It looks like much of it, if not all of it, is a replica. Again, this is just looking at low-res photos on my phone, but... Well, there is some armature there. But it looks like the skull is reconstructed. Yeah, I don't think the skull is genuine, but maybe much of the postcrania is. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah. But there are, like, 100% complete Triceratops fossils, where, like, almost every single bone is preserved. So everybody, especially if it's a commercial specimen, and I'm guessing that the Boston one... I'm guessing that they purchased that from a commercial outfit, and let's just say that commercial outfits have a long history of claiming that their dinosaurs are more complete than they really are. But you didn't hear that from me. Yeah. Anywho. Put some chapstick on. Let me know if you got any other questions, chat. That's one thing that Jim Kirkland has said in the past that I agree with, that Boston really needs like a proper natural history museum. Like a paleontology museum there would do numbers. There's like a major highways that go through there and a lot of tourists. And there's not a lot of places that you can see lots of cool fossils. The Harvard Museum is very small and doesn't have a whole lot of fossil material. They've got that Kronosaurus, but that's... I don't know, there's a lot wrong with it. Yeah, so it's like the Boston area, and then Northern California. We don't really have like a big public fossil museum. And those are open niches, like that's... Should have something grand and spectacular in both places. Just don't really have it. Yeah. Anywho. From Ms. Blue Skies, you've talked about fossils being found less in wet places. Is that more a matter of fossilization or difficulty prospecting? Difficulty prospecting, yeah. There will be tons and tons of dinosaur fossils on the east coast of the United States, like along the eastern seaboard and inland a bit. But there, it's too wet, so you get plants and trees and all kinds of stuff growing. You don't have beautiful exposed rock like this. So the only dinosaur fossils that have been found in the eastern United States tend to be from those rare places where people are like digging into sedimentary rock from the Cretaceous for whatever reason. So like Dryptosaurus and Hadrosaurus from Haddonfield, New Jersey, they were discovered in the marl pits. So people were digging up this sedimentary rock because it made for, I guess, good fertilizer for their fields. And then eventually people started finding fossils there too. And those are actually from marine strata. So I think a marl is like it's like a near coastal sort of environment, but there were a few dinosaurs that drifted out to sea and were preserved at the ocean bottom there, shallow ocean bottom. And yeah, that sort of thing is rare. You don't get a lot of deserts in the eastern United States. There's not a lot of beautiful exposed rock like this. And I don't know if I'd call this a desert. This is like kind of semi-arid cropland. There's wheat fields and canola fields and agriculture like that all throughout this region here in northern Montana. But you get these spots where rivers and glaciers during the last ice age have carved these massive scours into the landscape. And that's where you get this exposed rock like this. And that's where we find these fossils. That's why we're here, When I say we, I mean our crew. That's why we're digging in this spot, this is where you can come and find these fossils. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Much of the exposed rock, like the Appalachian Mountains, are metamorphic. Exactly, Ms. Blue Skies, yeah. Metamorphic or igneous. Or much of the Appalachian Mountains are far too old to have dinosaur fossils. Those are old mountains there. A lot of those rocks, I think, are from the Paleozoic or earlier.
That'd be cool, though.
Yeah. That being said, I'm not an expert in this. I've not really done no field work anywhere east of North Dakota. Yeah, let alone the East Coast. This is about as far east as I get. People don't like that when you go out to Wyoming and Montana. They go, oh yeah, it's nice being here back east. They go, what are you talking about? This is the West. We're cowboys and rattlesnakes. It's like, no, this is east to me. From California, Yeah. And Addicted to Capping says, why are more fossils found in the western U.S. compared to the eastern? Because we have desert here. That's part of it, is it's dry. It's much wetter in the eastern United States. But also when the Rocky Mountains were coming up to the west, during the say, the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, those mountains are coming up, and as they do that, there's valleys that are forming at the base of the mountains, down in the foothills and kind of going out to the sea. And so all of that material sloughing off of those mountains, all that stuff eroding off, all of that rock and sediment was carried down by mountain streams and rivers down into the valleys, and that buried the critters who were living and dying down there in the lowlands. And so this happened especially throughout the late Cretaceous period, and buried just untold numbers of dinosaurs and other critters from these environments. So they were deposited in the first place, but then something else happened. As the Rocky Mountains continued to push up, the interior of North America also rose. So stuff that used to be almost at sea level is now thousands of feet above sea level. So what was once a depositional environment, where sediment was being deposited in these lowlands, suddenly those are highlands. And suddenly, not suddenly, but gradually, I guess, over the last few million years, what was once a depositional environment becomes an erosional environment. Now stuff is eroding away, and you get all of this rock being worn away. All the cool stuff that's buried in it is now exposed on the surface. And we can explore and we can find fossils. So it's what was once a lowland, where you had lots of deposition, has become a highland, where you get lots of erosion, and in the process it's become much more dry, so you don't have endless trees and forests and grasses covering up these rocks. Instead, you've got beautiful exposed rock just waiting for paleontologists to prospect it and find fossils. You don't get that back east, like East Coast. You do get it here west, if that makes sense. Yeah. And fewer parking lots built over stuff. This is true as well. Trick tracks, yeah. Yeah. Anyhow. Luke Kerman's, yeah. Coast to coast from LA to Chicago. No, I mean, that's... You've got West Coast, you've got East Coast, and you've got Midwest Coast. Steve can back us up about this. He's from Chicago. Yeah. Here, let's ask him. Yeah, what's that? Who sings Okagar says East Coast? East Coast, Least Coast. You're misremembering that, Okagar. Artist whose name I forget. Let's see. Smooth Operator. Sade. Yeah, I just thinking about this the other day. That's Sade who sings that. Yeah. Here, Steve, we got another important question for you on the goofier side.
Well, I hope I can answer it.
As a Chicago native, you know that Sade song, Smooth Operator?
Sade?
Sade? Sorry, is it Sade?
It is Sade.
I'm sorry, Sade. Yeah, but I've got that line, coast to coast, LA to Chicago.
Yeah.
Midwest Coast, that's a thing, right? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest
what
Coast?
What other coast do you need but the Lake Michigan shoreline?
There you go, yeah. One of the most beautiful coastlines in the United States, in my opinion. I'm going to be up there in western Michigan in a little over a week, I think. So, yeah. Anyway. So, Steve's stamp of approval, Midwest Coast?
Midwest Coast.
Yeah.
There is no East Coast.
That's going a bit further, but I like it. I like it. Hot take, yeah. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, yeah. Anyway, but there used to be a very different East and West Coast going on here in North America during the Cretaceous. Let's talk a little bit about the Western Interior Seaway briefly. I know I talk about this just about every stream, but we've got new people here who haven't heard about this yet. And the rocks that we're digging in right now, in the late Cretaceous, these rocks are about 76 million years old. This used to be pretty near the coast. Not, well, a different East Coast, I guess. There was a seaway in the middle of North America. And there's a deer fly or somebody who's very interested in my that's holding the camera. Go away. But, here we go. I'm gonna find it. There we go. North America, about 70 million years ago, give or take. There was a seaway in the middle, and imagine that there's water covering this part too, because there probably should be. But northern Montana, where we are right now, used to be very close to the coast. There was an interior seaway that covered the middle of North America like this, and yeah, this was teeming with mosasaurs and plesiosaurs and giant predatory fishes, marine crocs and ammonites and all kinds of cool animals, including flightless seagoing birds, pterosaurs soaring overhead in the western interior sea. And Montana had beachfront property at the time. And that would have been pretty close to where we are here. This seaway expanded and contracted, it advanced and retreated many, many times during the late Cretaceous. It's just constantly on the move, as coastlines tend to do over geological time. But that story was something we talked about yesterday with Denver. How as the seaway advances and retreats, you get different amounts of rock that are deposited here. Because rivers will flow faster or slower depending on how far they are from the ocean. The slope of the land and all of that comes into account there too. It's interesting stuff. And that in turn, along with like how much land is actually available here for dinosaurs to live on, there would have been big mountains, the Rocky Mountains coming up over here. This wouldn't have been super suitable habitat for a lot of dinosaurs, but you would have had this relatively thin strip of floodplain, like lowland habitat along here, that dinosaurs clearly loved because they were super abundant there, left fossils everywhere. That habitat would expand and shrink as the seaway expanded and shrunk, and that would affect the evolution of these dinosaurs. Certain populations would get cut off from one another as the sea levels rose and made that habitat smaller, and that might have led to major splits in lineages, like between the Centrosaurines and the Chasmosaurines, and then different lineages within those subgroups too. All of this stuff is interconnected, and it's all... You got to be like a big picture thinker to be able to figure this stuff out. And that's one of the things that Denver is really, really good at. And yeah, I've always admired that about Denver's research, is he's a big picture guy, you know? All of these little details that we're finding, each fossil that we uncover is part of this, but there's a much larger picture there too. And if you can get a good enough feel for what's going on at a small scale, all that small scale stuff adds up until you've got this grand vision of, you know, the evolution of dinosaurs and their neighbors throughout the late Cretaceous. It's fascinating stuff. It's those big ideas. There's some of the things I get really excited about. Yeah. And there you go, Son of Sobek. Yeah. So Fort Carson, Colorado. That would have been when Colorado was covered by the western interior seaway. Yeah. That's cool that you've got that like personal connection to that. You'd be like, yeah, oh yeah, I know this. I found clams on a mountain. Oceanic clams on a mountain in Colorado. It's pretty neat. All right, how's our battery doing? 8%. Okay. Although we're getting some decent power, 17 watts. Yeah, so we might end the stream just a little bit early. Yeah, or maybe it'll go for the next half hour. We'll see. And no, not like Rocky Mountain oysters. This is very different, Digital Communist. This is legitimate clams from the bottom of the ocean. Colorado today, like Denver is called the mile. Denver, Colorado, because it is about 5,200 feet above sea level. So it's roughly a mile. Didn't used to be that way. Used to be below sea level for a good while. That's how much uplift has occurred along the Rocky Mountain front. It's cool to think about, you know? That kind of perspective, I think, is It's an important one to remember, you know? When we're thinking about the history of our planet, well, it's important to think about the history of our planet. I'll start there. When we as human beings are living our short but eventful lives, you know, going to work, raising families, you know, consuming popular culture, all this stuff, it's all happening on such a short time scale. And we think of a human lifetime being long, you know, 100 years. Wow, you'd be really lucky to live that long if you're healthy and happy. That is minuscule compared to, you know, this long record of life on Earth that we have, that we can study through the fossil record. You know, we know that we've had life on our planet Earth since at least 3 billion years ago, maybe 4, maybe closer to like 4.3 billion years. A billion is a big number, you know? To give you an analogy, because a lot of people, they're both big numbers, whatever. No, a billion is 1,000 millions. So to help illustrate this, I like to think of it in terms of time, in terms of seconds. So like a million seconds is about 13 days, which if you had to count a million seconds, you know, that would be pretty tedious. A billion seconds, on the other hand, is what, 36 years, I think? Somebody correct me if I have that wrong. 36 years is a billion seconds. It's so much longer than a million. And to think that Earth has harbored life for at least 3 billion years is pretty extraordinary. And I would consider that for the vast majority of that, life was very simple and small, little one-celled organisms, stuff like that. Dinosaurs only appear on our planet about 230, 240 million years ago. So much, much closer to the present. And we as human beings in our modern anatomical form, anatomically modern humans have only been around for about 200,000 years. That's nothing, you know? But when you're a geologist or a paleontologist or somebody who's just interested in these fields, you got to think about those timescales on a regular basis, and it kind of changes your outlook on everything. It's a neat perspective to have, and it's one that I encourage people to develop. We'll be talking more about that in the next few weeks. I'll be going on a little hiatus in a few days, doing some traveling, going back home to California, and then we'll do at least one fieldwork recap stream, and then I'll be going back out to Utah for about 3 weeks, working with the Utah Geological Survey. I think we'll be talking a lot about deep time while we're out there. I think that's going to be a consistent theme that we're going to be running with. So yeah. It's 32 years. Thank you, Reality Ripple. A billion seconds is 32 years, not 37. Appreciate it. And Zool, hello. All the studies you've done or read, have you found anything definitive as far as dinosaurs making one location as home, similar to modern humans? I mean, here. Yeah. I don't know if this is home, like a permanent residence, but we have evidence of site fidelity here with our hadrosaurs. So returning to the same place, maybe year after year, and laying their eggs in the same exact spot, to the point where we find eggs that are stacked on top of one another. Still at 8% there, good. Oh, and another thing would be burrows. So we do have evidence of some dinosaurs that were actually digging burrows and then living in them, raising their young inside these burrows. I guess that is a more or less permanent residence, right? That's a home. Yeah. There's many animals that don't really do that. They'll move across a landscape. They'll wander long distances. Shoot, leatherback turtles are like this. They'll cross entire ocean basins. They'll swim from the Solomon Islands north of Australia all the way out to San Francisco. And they'll do this multiple times throughout their lifetime. It's truly impressive. But there's some animals that stick closer to home. In fact, some animals, are literally sessile, like they don't move. Think about corals, or say a barnacle that's stuck to a rock. You know, some animals very much do have a home, and some move around a whole lot. From what we can tell, a lot of dinosaurs probably were pretty mobile animals. Some of them may have migrated long distances over land to go to their nesting grounds or feeding grounds. But some of them may have been more residential. They may have stuck around in one place. There's ways to test this where you can actually look at stable isotopes and things like their teeth and be able to see whether or not, well, I guess teeth are too ephemeral. They go through them too often. But like, you could maybe do stable isotope analysis of certain bone elements and then figure out if these animals are staying in one part of the landscape their whole lives, or if they're moving around a whole lot, going to different spots, maybe migrating seasonally. That sort of thing is still kind of in its infancy. We're still sort of figuring this out. And I think that's really cool that, like, there are people who are in school right now, or people who are just little kids right now, or people who haven't been born yet, who will be figuring out these things in the coming decades. They'll be doing research that helps us determine, you know, how much did dinosaurs move? Did they migrate vast distances across landscapes? Is this typical for Dinosauria? Or are there groups that would stick around in one place? These seem like really basic things, and like we know this about modern animals, but for extinct creatures who died out tens of millions of years ago, it's much more difficult to determine that. But it's not impossible. We have tools to figure this stuff out, and we have clever people to employ those tools. I think honestly, that's one of my favorite things about paleontology, is being able to use very limited information, but a lot of cleverness, to figure stuff out that people would be like, how in the world did you determine that? But again, how in the world did we determine that there were giant terrestrial reptiles that ruled the Earth tens of millions of years before humans evolved? How do we know that? Well, we come out here and we dig those up. You know, we gather those data. This is the kind of work that we're doing right now, today, happening in the quarry as we speak. So it's pretty cool stuff, you know? Yeah. Anywho. Let me drink some more water. And what types of material do you rarely find fossils buried in? Addicted to capping. Well, shoot, that's a longer list, the places we don't find fossils, than if we were to make a list of the places you do find fossils. So in order to get preserved fossils, you need specific conditions. You need usually sedimentary rock, rock that's laid down by sediments being deposited. So that's mudstones, sandstones, siltstones, shales, things like that. You're not going to find fossils generally in like lava deposits, because lava has a nasty tendency of burning up living things, including bones. Likewise, you don't typically find a lot of fossils, at least not like dinosaur fossils, in metamorphic rock, because metamorphic rocks are either igneous or sedimentary rocks that have been metamorphosed. They've been subjected to tremendous heat and pressure to literally like change them into a different kind of rock. And so any fossils that might have been in there tend to get destroyed if their host rock is being metamorphosed. So we only really find fossils in sedimentary rocks for the most part. And at least dinosaur fossils, you know. You might find microfossils in other kinds of rocks, but if we're talking about, say, bones, you want to look in sedimentary rocks. That being said, like Steve was talking about earlier, sometimes the soil chemistry just wasn't right, or whatever's going on in those sediments, it's not amenable for preserving bone, you know, or eggshell or whatever. It might be too acidic or too alkaline, and stuff would just dissolve or get worn away. So there are specific circumstances that are required for preserving fossils. And we're still kind of figuring out what those circumstances are. Like, what's the secret ingredients there, you know? So, yeah. Except for those few lava casts, which are very rare, Ms. Blue Skies. But yeah, it does happen. We don't have any from the age of dinosaurs, for instance. But you get that with Cenozoic mammals and stuff. Unless you're talking about like Pompeii, but those would not really be like that's recent, you know. That's what, ancient Rome. It's like last Thursday. It just happened. But yeah. Anywho. And yeah, acid rain would not help with preservation. You are correct there, Trick Tracks. Yeah. Yeah. Let me get some more water, and I'll check on our battery. Got about 15 minutes left. 20 minutes left, whatever, and we're at 7%. Looks like we might make it to 5. All right. This might not be a short stream. I thought it would be, but we'll see. Let's get some water. If anything, it'll be just a few minutes short. I know I started a little bit late today, so. And let's see. And Casey Snort says, thinking about how many billions of years of life that have been around on Earth, I get so sad, wondering about all the creatures that we have no fossil evidence of and will never know about. That's a legitimate sentiment there, Casey. And sometimes I think about that too. But I try not to let it make me too sad, because on the one hand, sure, there are lots of critters who probably never had a chance to get fossilized. But on the other side of that token, think how incredibly lucky we are to have a fossil record and to have that kind of human curiosity and ingenuity and cleverness to be able to study fossils. Just the fact that we know that there were creatures that lived on Earth long before we ever evolved, that's really, really special, you know? In some ways, I kind of think that's, not to be too lofty or philosophical about it, but that's kind of one of the things that makes us human, makes us special, is that we're able to study the ancient past, excavate fossils, figure out what was here long before us. You know, that's kind of a mark of sophistication in a species, to be able to think about what came before it, you know? And certainly we can't. To be able to know what we do know, and to be able to learn more by, you know, doing these excavations like this, conducting this field work, carrying out this science. What a tremendous privilege, and what an adventure to be able to do this kind of thing, you know? How cool is that? We're so lucky, you know? And even just a few hundred years ago, people had no idea that dinosaurs existed, you know? It's become like a pop culture factoid, but it's true that, like, George Washington lived his whole life and died without ever knowing what a dinosaur was. He, of course, didn't know that birds were dinosaurs. We didn't really know that for a fact until the latter part of the 20th century. Imagine that, you know? For the vast majority of human history, nobody knew what a dinosaur was. And now we, you and me, chat, get to live at a time when we do get to know about these critters. And lucky few of us get to go out and dig them up. That's incredibly cool. And in a way, it kind of makes paleontology one of the most modern of all the sciences. I think that's something to be proud of, too, as a paleontologist. And it's such a privilege to be able to share that with all of you, you know? We're doing this kind of work. It's something that I think it should be shared with the world as best we can do that. And it's such a for me to be able to share that with you. It makes me really happy. You know, I get so many of these streams, and not only do I get to follow my live stream and dig up dinosaurs, study them, and learn about them, and talk about them, but I get to share that with the world too, and that's something special, and I try not to forget that, you know? I've been very, very lucky. Anyhow. With that said, I think that might be a good time to wrap up this stream, because our battery is quickly depleting. What are we at now? 6%. Yeah, we've got more clouds coming in. Yeah, I also want to get back into the quarry and do some digging before we have to go today. We got to make sure that we do a proper raid too. So yeah, bit of a shorter stream today. I didn't lie about that. But it went longer than I was fearing, which is nice. Again, it's been a tremendous honor and a privilege to be able to share this with you. We've got one more stream from Montana tomorrow, and I hope you'll tune in for that. After that, I'm heading back to California to go home. I've got a little vacation in Michigan that I'm really looking forward to, and then back home to California again, then out to Utah for more dinosaur digging with the Utah Geological Survey. So anyway, please show up tomorrow if you want to see probably the other site, the Jack's Bone Bed site. Find some more Tyrannosaur teeth, some more Hadrosaur bones, maybe some Pterosaur bits. I hope you'll show up then. Let's see who else is streaming here on Twitch right now. And we'll see if we can do a raid. Let's see, today is Tuesday. So who is live on a Tuesday afternoon? Let's see. Not a whole lot of options today. Let's go see what California Burbs is up to. That'll be fun, I think. What are they doing? See some modern dinosaurs. Raid California Burbs. Did that work? Excellent. Yeah. Everybody, thank you for being here today. I've been kind of talking about what a privilege it is to be able to do science outreach like this and also to dig up fossils. It's because of your generous support that this is possible. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed or gifted or cheered. Thank you for letting me be out here. Make a living doing this. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, and that's thanks to you. So thank you for that. Likewise, thank you to the moderators who keep this a safe and welcoming community for everybody, people of all ages and backgrounds and levels of expertise, from PhD paleontologists to middle school kids and yeah, again, everybody in between. Appreciate you, mods. Without further ado, we're going to go right into California Burbs and see some burbs in my home state, living dinosaurs. And then we'll be back for more paleontologizing tomorrow. So everybody take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.